cat comes from.
From the corners of city streets to the boy pedaling through suburban
I think he
neighborhoods,
watches you
the
and
delivery of the daily newspaper has a grand tradition, which is dying a slow death along with the newspaper business. As papers become a thing of the past, delivering the news has not. Sign up for email news alerts. We'll deliver to your inbox rather than your mailbox or front
We're ready.
window. Get on our paper route, WOAI.com.
Looking for plain English and cool questions? Join me, Kim Commando, tomorrow at noon on News Radio 1200 WOAI.
The following is
Did you talk to the guy? Did you call the guy that you wanted to call? Welcome to the KM Builders Remodeling and Design Show. I'm Keith Moehle and glad to be with you. And I'm also with Morgan. Morgan's here.
Hello, everybody.
And we're encouraging you to not only stay tuned, but to give us a call at 737-1200 or 1-800-383-WOAI. And then we're also live on Facebook and YouTube.
Yep, on Facebook at KM Builders 1, and on YouTube just search KM Builders. And we can take your questions and comments there as well as on air.
And how about that text number? We're going to get that yet soon?
Soon.
Tell us about that, how that's going to work.
Well, we're looking into getting a number where you can text us your questions during the air, so that way it'll be a little bit easier for you. You may not have to call in if it's a short question or something like that, so stay tuned for that.
Probably in another week or so we should have that, and because right now you could text us, but we really couldn't see it on our phones since they're used for the live video. So we're going to have a text number coming up, and we encourage you to also to do the live look on if you can every now and then, and maybe enjoy it a little more. We'll show some things. Typically we're going to enhance that viewing experience with some visual, what we can't do on the radio. But for right now, if you'd like to call in, we will take your calls at 737-1200. Anything about remodeling or building, construction, we'll try to use our many years experience in doing that and helping you. We really enjoy meeting you out at your homes. We always do free consultations. Sometimes Morgan accompanies me on those first ones, and we do a little video if we can. But mainly I go out there and meet you and give you an assessment of what your project would typically cost and give you some ideas on how we might be able to do some interesting designs for you on that. And it's a really good experience. We're usually there for an hour talking about different things and explaining a process that would guarantee you results, and something typically we talk about things you had no idea that we do along the way that really is a refreshing difference in the business, as we've been told by many of you. But this week we are going to talk about cost versus value. We're going to finish it up. There were some intangibles and things we didn't talk about last week, and we'll go over some of the main projects, but some real important items to think about when thinking of moving or staying, or just how much would you like to put into your home, what would be a safe amount to do, and will I get the return on that? It is one of the most common questions we have in the field when we meet you at your home. So we try to preempt some of those and encourage you to take that step of remodeling if it's appropriate. And again, we're live at 737-1200, and I'll take this opportunity to remind everyone that we would love to hear about your experiences. If you've had a good one, we would love to hear it. But we would really like to hear about the warnings that you may have learned, because a lot of people have done this before, and they've learned that it's a very dangerous game. How to choose a contractor can be very difficult, and unfortunately we still meet a lot of people who do not know that it is complicated. We meet a lot of folks who've never done it before, and we don't want them to think that that you can just take it for granted that everything's going to work out great. So if you have any experience you'd like to tell others to be careful about, we usually do that in this first segment. And of course, we'll take those experiences anytime during, but we've met several during the last few weeks that have had problems with contractors taking their money and not finishing the project or even not starting at all. And we really want folks to know that you need to be very, very careful. That's why we talk about so many different topics on here that relate to being careful. One of the big things that we always remind people is don't give large amounts of payment, large size payments. Do you remember how much money some of these people are taking up front, Morgan? Mm-hmm. It's typically about half or one third of what the whole contract is what we continue to see. So if someone's going to give you a project for $15,000, they'll ask for about $6,000 up front to start. And the reason that people will do that, why do you think, Morgan? Why do you think people would give a large payment like that?
Maybe because they think it'll happen faster.
That's a good one. And probably the most common reason that I see that they're tempted to go ahead and give the guy the money is because he's about half of what everybody else was charging, or what they had heard was the standard in the industry. So let me ask another question. Why do you think someone would be tempted to pay someone half of the price that they were maybe hearing, whenever that should be a red flag? What would be the thing that would get them over that I guess that hesitation that they might feel or wonder about, that fear? What do you think would get someone over that to go ahead and pay that money?
If they can start now.
That's a good one, yeah. We can start right now is a good one. And another big factor is how convincing that person is and how trustworthy they appear. They just appear like, this guy really gets it. He seems so professional. If they're so professional and they have a better price than everybody else, how could I not go with this? And so it appeals to the sense of wanting a good deal and thinking maybe, just maybe, he's underbid this, but it's going to come out to my advantage. And they may even say things like, if I could use your project, and if I got it a little low, we're still going to do the right job for you. I'm going to go ahead and offer you a deal though right now to keep my crews busy or something like that. So there's some kind of temptation that makes you think, well, maybe he recognizes that it's a very, very good price, but somehow he's going to make it work out for me. So those are some of the techniques that are used, and we just encourage people to let other listeners know, if you've learned the hard way and you don't want others to make that mistake, perhaps it'll feel a little bit better to share that with someone else on the line. So we love to talk about how to avoid these problems, and that's what this show's about. How to avoid problems and to answer questions ahead of time, rather than get into the thick of it. And that could be from many ways we could get into it and have a problem. Wrong contractor, didn't realize the cost of it, didn't have the products ordered ahead of time, didn't finish the design, changed my mind about what I really thought I wanted. So if you don't go through the right process, you can have a lot of those things. And so we talk about all of those things here on the show. And Morgan helps me plan out some of these shows. We're getting it more and more a variety of topics. We're going to have a topic coming up soon on foundation repair. Our friend Larry Villarreal will be on the show soon, and we'll be talking about foundation problems and how to address those. We'll be doing a show on room additions. We usually do one show a year on room additions, so we'll have these scheduled and posted soon. But we did want to finish what we started last week on cost versus value and some of the intangibles on that. We're going to talk a little bit about the projects. And again, if you'd like to call in, call us at 737-1200 or 1-800-383-WOAI, and we will take your calls after we get back to the break. We're going to go ahead and take a break now. If Tracy's ready to go, we'll get back to the K & Builders Remodeling and Design Show.
The more you'll have to pay in a sudden accident or unexpected illness could cause your rates to skyrocket or even make you uninsurable.
I texted Andy to share our live show.
Oh, really? You can do it?
He said he's going to get somebody to do it.
Oh, good. working on that with him? I haven't seen the emails on it.
Well, I just told you that I was gonna do it when we have it live. There's no other way to do it. You can't pre-share the link, you know.
You said that's how you do it? You tell him and he gets somebody to do it?
Sure. I texted him the link and said, can you get someone at WAI Facebook to share it? So that's what I did.
Circled the wrong one here.
So this one, are we going to talk about kitchens? There are 3 people watching us right now.
We're going to talk about bathrooms and kitchens. The bathroom was the biggest increase.
Okay.
Hello everybody that's watching. I'm looking at the arrangement from last year's cost versus value versus this one. This is in the reverse order here. It's a little confusing.
That's
Bathroom
weird.
addition. I'll need to underline these words. And I think I made a mistake last week when I said bathroom remodel. Oh, it wasn't much difference between a basement remodel
Oh.
and a bathroom remodel. So it was about the same. It was only 1.5% difference. Okay, and then we want to go to kitchen remodel. Kitchen remodel. Let's see the
Do they
difference
have
there. See
kitchen
what went down.
facelift? They don't have a lesser version of kitchen remodel?
Nope, it's either major kitchen remodel, mid-range, or upscale.
Oh, okay.
Upscale would be here.
Oh, they do
3%.
it different, yeah.
At a completely different scale. Now the difference went down, but the other one went way up. So we're gonna talk about that one. So these two are like in the opposite order. Addition, remodel, no, they're the same order. They just skipped this. The one in the middle. Bathroom remodel, upscale. Let's do it. Find that easier. Then we're going to get into the intangibles. We'll be back on in 1 minute. Is the forecast to start turning up now?
It was supposed to all
Afternoon?
hopefully. Kind of looks like a Range Rover, right?
The Range Rovers are expensive to repair.
I
Everything
heard
is
they have
expensive on them.
leaks.
Leaks. And they're probably very expensive to buy
It is
too.
not well made.
Ford's a good one.
Yep.
Toyota, Lexus.
I turn on even before I get up out of bed.
Welcome back to the KM Builders Remodeling Design Show. Hope you like the little songs that Tracy puts in there for us. We are taking your calls live at 737-1200 or live on Facebook and YouTube.
Yep.
And Morgan makes sure that that stuff is working well and reminds me how to do that. But we appreciate you viewing and listening. Again, 737-1200 or 1-800-383-WOAI. In the meantime, between calls, we are going to talk about cost versus value. A little refresher from last week, though, of the main things that we saw change from 2017 to 2018. And we are talking about the Harvard study of cost versus value in the remodeling industry. It is something that a lot of you want to know, and we'll hit the high points here. One of them is from last year to this year. If you were talking about a bathroom addition, a bathroom remodel in the mid-range, which is about $17,000, it went up from $16,417 last year to $17,043, which is typically your guest baths, your hall bathrooms are in that price range. Last year, in 2017, the expected return on investment, if you spent $16,400, you'd get $12,200 if you sold it right away, sold that home. And this year, believe it or not, San Antonio is showing that you get 96% back. So $17,043 translates to $16,368 if you sold that right away. Obviously, that's not why you do it in most cases, but it is good to know that if you want to live in a nicer home with a nicer bathroom, that if you turn around and sell it tomorrow, you would get almost all of it back. That's a pretty safe way to spend your money if you want to enjoy it. And maybe some people I've actually talked to think about remodeling as, I want to increase my profits by remodeling. That's usually not going to happen in most homes. There are some exceptions. There are some neighborhoods where you could buy a home, fix it up, and you would actually make a lot of money on that by turning that home over and doing quality remodeling, of course. We're not talking about people who flip homes. We're talking about homes that are already quality, but they need some remodeling done. So there's a few places where you can do that. Alamo Heights is one of them. Some of the more exclusive neighborhoods, if you bought a home and remodeled it, you might make money on it when you turn around and sell that home. But most of the time, people aren't doing it for that reason. They would just like to know that they're going to get most of their money back, where it's not a really bad decision. And so think about this whenever you're remodeling. If you can get 96% back and enjoy it, and turn around and sell it, and then 1 year you're safe, you're pretty safe there. And so that hasn't always been the case in San Antonio, but that is pretty much the highlight of the latest study. So we want to talk about some things to consider in addition to the fact that you can get 96% back just when you turn around and sell it right away. So what do you think would happen, Morgan, if you waited a little longer and sold the home 3 to 5 years later? How much percent do you think you'd get back? More or less than 96%?
More, probably.
Yeah, you're exactly right. In fact, you could get 70% back on some of the projects, like maybe a kitchen remodel. They're showing, let's see, siding replacement, they're showing 70%. Minor kitchen remodel, 62%. Let's see, minor kitchen remodel last year, it's easy, it's hard to tell on these, the way they have these, here we go. It was 83.5%. So I tend to doubt that if bathrooms went up, that in San Antonio, that kitchens really went down. There's something weird about some of the things, the way they do it. But, so if you're in the 70s or 80% on kitchen remodels, which is what, kind of like we look at, these numbers change from year to year, but they really don't really seem to make much difference in the real world. We tend to see about 80% on these projects. I think a guest bath though would get you probably 100% back right away. But if you were to spend 70 or get 80% back on a kitchen remodel, for example, right when you were to remodel it and you sold the home, The odds are that within 5 years, you're probably going to get 100% back.
Why is that?
Well, there's a couple reasons. One is in 5 years, remodeling will cost more. And that's continued to happen over the years. Even when the economy was not really doing well, carpenters weren't taking less money, tile setters were not taking less money, they were not working for less. And in fact, prices continued to go up. Hourly employees tended to get raises, and they stayed in, and particularly to keep someone in the remodeling industry. One of the things that affected San Antonio and South Texas and other areas in Texas as well was the oil boom. The oil boom was hitting whenever economies were still slow, and so a lot of people, we even lost employees that went to go work in the oil fields. So to keep people, we had to pay. And that was true in the construction. A lot of construction people can go and become oil field workers. And that's one thing that they can do that maybe doesn't require the college education. So they were offered a lot of money in the trucking and in the service industry of the oil. And some construction people already have experience in the oil field work realm, because they came from that the last time it really went down low and they got into construction. So that is one of the things that happened is remodeling labor costs do not go down. And by the way, the same is true with materials. Materials are affected by hurricanes, they're affected by trade embargoes, they're affected by the purchasing of our natural resources from outside countries. And many times, when China was buying a lot of steel, for example, and concrete products, our concrete prices were going up while the economy was flat. So it is very, very likely that in 5 years you would have to pay more to remodel your home than you do today. And that means that it's a good deal to go ahead and get it now, because later on it has more value. It will not be the same price, and whenever you sell it in 5 years, you will be able to get more than what you paid for it. So if you paid 75, or if you thought you were going to get 75 or 80% return on investment right now, if you sold it, your odds are really good that you would get everything back if you waited 5 years. And most people that we talk to are going to be around their homes at least 5 years. And so we definitely want people to realize that it is a pretty safe bet that if you're doing what's considered normal remodeling in a home, that you're going to get that return. Now, what's normal remodeling?
A kitchen or a bathroom, replacing the tub to a shower.
And the reason we call that normal remodeling is because it's so commonplace in all the homes around your neighborhood. Other people are doing that. Now, if you're doing maybe a big addition on your home, that's probably not common remodeling for your area. Now, in some neighborhoods though, when you have a smaller home and you want to increase the size of your home, it's a really practical decision, because a lot of the homes in your neighborhood are larger, and that's going to get you a really good return on investment also. But in general, your homes are going to be remodeled in the bathrooms and the kitchens and flooring and painting, and of course any maintenance work. That is always an obvious one. But if you don't do those things, what will happen is you don't even stand a chance of getting the top value of your home. And we've already shown you, and the statistics bear it out, that you're not throwing your money away to go ahead and remodel it. You're going to need to do that anyway whenever you resell. So why not enjoy it now for 5 or 10 or even 15 years? And we'd like you to stay in there, to enjoy it for 20, 25. And the truth is that it'll still be in good shape and it'll still hold that value. The longer you're in it, the better that's going to resell, because it will not wear out when it's done quality. We'll talk about other reasons why that makes a lot of sense to do those projects that you are thinking about doing when we get back to the show. But before we go to break, I want to remind everyone that right now is the time to buy your boots at Billy's Western Wear. That's why I buy all my boots. That's where Morgan's got hers. That's where my wife gets hers. It's out there in Bernie. And what's the website address?
BillysWesternwear.com.
BillysWesternwear.com. Talk to my friend out there, Mr. White. And the phone number is 830-249-3843 if you'd like to give him a call. We'll be right back to the K & Builders Remodeling and Design Show.
I'm Morgan Moehle. Here are some of the stories we're following at News Radio 1200 WOAI.
since this was the first time reminding them. This was my first time reminding them. So what are we gonna talk about? So places like, if they had like a small home in like Chavano or something like that, would adding an addition actually be valuable?
Sure it would. Especially if you're below the average size or below the largest size even of those homes. It does take, even then, it takes a little longer to do to get a return on investment
Okay.
than a quick kitchen or bathroom. Those are your top, hottest sellers. They have the most wow in them of anything.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes a house is just begging for an addition. It doesn't have that extra bathroom, or it doesn't have that extra bedroom, or it doesn't have the living room as big as you would want it. You know, so often though we can remodel a home with the space within the walls that are already there.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just really begging for an addition. And each circumstance is different, that whether you get your money back.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of factors, and we go through those factors. We want to go through some of those factors right now. I think that'll be something we'll talk about on the air live, is that additions. When is it good to do an addition?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors and intangibles that need to be considered before you say, I'm just gonna move because I don't think I'll get my money back.
I heard that in a bathroom, that you should always keep one tub in a house if you're thinking of ever reselling it or for an emergency. Does it really, you think, make a difference?
I really don't, but that has been the rule of thumb for a long time. There's some
Like
practical things we could consider about
moms
that.
with their babies.
Let's talk about that when we get on the air. Why is that still valid?
Yeah.
Why don't you ask that question when we go back on the air?
Okay. The first.
The first question then.
Okay.
Say, I
Oh,
have
we
a
have a
question.
caller.
Maybe.
We need to exit that. Oh, so it is amazing.
What's
Oh,
that?
he's on the phone right now.
We'll see if we can.
It's funny watching Frasier now because we're on the radio and he's on the radio.
You should act like him. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh
Simple.
my goodness.
Wow. Oh wow, check that out. It just floated away. Look at those houses. Floodwaters.
Where was that?
I don't know. That was amazing.
Kind of looks like Philippines, you know, when they had
I
theirs.
wouldn't want to stand over that road.
No.
Bernie says 20% chance of rain. If anybody was in there. Not a good place to live, huh? Go ahead, Bo.
I know.
I think the hippo knew that the friends, that people were trying to help him. Died in a zoo. How sad. Tiger's dead. See the water's starting to seep in, and then it finally just wipes out everything. Finally got to be too tall and it busted. Didn't take long.
It's a hotline. I'll catch it in a sec.
Welcome to the KM Builders Remodeling Design Show, and we're glad to be with you, taking your calls live at 737-1200 or 1-800-383-WOAI, and we're also live on Facebook at KM Builders and YouTube.
YouTube, yep, just search KM Builders. You can find us there.
We have lots of videos on there now too.
Mm-hmm.
How many do we have?
Oh, at least over 30 something. I'm pretty, maybe closer to 50 now. We have 2 of your vlog videos, video vlogs about going to different customers' houses, and when we did a garage renovation possibly, and we got some really cool videos. Some drone shots, so they can see our projects from the drone. Really
That's
cool.
nice. Yeah. So y'all might like checking those out. Just search KM Builders on YouTube and you'll see lots of cool things there. And we're going to keep increasing those. Morgan and Justin Bravo has been filming for us. We're going to be increasing that and giving people more information. That's what we're about, is helping you to make good decisions with giving you good, solid information. This show we're talking about cost versus value. And you said you had a question you wanted to ask.
So in a bathroom, when they're thinking about remodeling a bathroom, do they still need to keep one tub in the house for some reason?
That has been the rule of thumb, and a lot of people are afraid to take out any tubs, but it has been increasing. The standard is to have one tub for basically therapeutic reasons, to be able to soak or something like that. And people still feel that there may be some desire to take a bath, although many people disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even the need for therapeutic reasons to have a bathtub is really going away. You mentioned another reason though that you might want a tub. What was that for?
Maybe for our babies, to wash babies.
Mm-hmm. And when you were a baby, you were washed in the kitchen sink.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
So most babies can be washed in a sink if it's a big enough sink, and it's actually easier on the parents, on their back and so forth. Sometimes, you know, once a child is able to stand, I mean, they really can take a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get, if you don't want the kid to get wet, or they don't like getting wet and, you know, on top like a rain shower, then you can just have a handheld. That's an easy change out. So I really don't think that people are really feeling the need to have a tub anymore, because babies can be washed in larger sinks. Even pets can be washed in larger sinks, and humans that stand typically can be done a lot easier with a shower and a wand or a removable shower head that can soak someone down. There's just so many advantages to showers that it's hard to imagine really needing one. When you're injured, a tub is really the last thing you want to be getting into.
I know when I sprained my ankle, it was hard to get into the bathtub without somebody helping me into it.
Mm-hmm. And a shower usually has a much better texture, so it's much less likely that you're going to slip in there. And you can create a bench in a shower. So we're talking about, what would I want? Remodel my bathroom with a tub or remodel it with a shower?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is definitely a shower. I don't care if you have no tubs left after you do that. You're probably going to be a lot better off, and you're going to sell your home a lot easier with showers. People shower these days, very few take baths. Now, if that's you live up taking baths, well then the answer is obvious. I need a bathtub. But for resale, that's not the way you'd want to think, because most people would rather have their children showering and rather have themselves and their spouse would rather shower. So that's what most people want. In fact, let's not forget that there is a risk of drowning with a tub.
Mm-hmm.
And that is completely gone with a shower. You can't drown in a shower. It's virtually impossible to do. You know, you can't stop it up enough to drown, because usually it's only 6 inches of water and it would start running over. Mm-hmm. 4 to 6 inches of water. I mean, you can't drown in 4 to 6 inches of water unless you leave a little toddler in there by themselves, a baby, literally. And so no one's going to do that. The risks are greater with tubs. Scalding happens a lot more likely because it's right underneath the faucet. And so therapeutic reasons, you can put a bucket, a large bucket in a shower, and you can soak your feet in there. It'd be nice if you had a bench already built in, which you would have in a shower. So if you needed to soak your foot or your ankle in Epsom salts and things like that, you'd be better off in a shower where you wouldn't create as much of a mess and you wouldn't have to put as much water into it to soak that foot. You could literally be taking a shower while soaking your foot in a hot pan of water, and it would actually be easier. Now, if you're taking care of someone in a bathtub or helping them bathe because of an injury, again, the shower is a lot better way to go. So we've already shown that bathroom remodels, mid-range bathroom remodels for like guest baths are up to 96% return on investment. But one of the things we want to think about is that money increases if you stay in your home. It's going to go up for several reasons. The cost of remodeling goes up, and if you're not going to stay, then you do want to keep it simple. It is always a better thing to do, whether it's kitchen, bathroom, or any other part of your home. You keep it simple if you're selling right away. But most of the things we want to talk about to you is about if you're going to stay several years in your home. Remember that luxury items sell. The middle of the road, looks okay, is not really what's going to sell whenever you turn around and sell that home. What's it going to cost for someone to buy your home if it looks a little nicer than just okay? If it's not middle of the range. If it's not middle of the road or just looks like a lipstick on it, looks better and it doesn't turn someone off, what's that going to cost them per month? Remember that it is easier to finance the remodeling project by the next buyer than it is by you. Because most people are going to be thinking about a 30-year mortgage. And so this extra $5,000 you're putting into a bathroom is only going to come out to $5, $10, $15 a month over that big mortgage that they're going to do. It's not going to make a big difference. You're going to ask for the money that you put into that, whether you do a little kind of an okay, middle of the range remodel, or you do something that looks really sharp. You're going to ask for that money back when you resell it. So in a bathroom, it might be $5,000 difference. Well, that comes out to that $5 or $10 a month, maybe $15. Same is true in a kitchen. If you do a kitchen remodel just bare bones and you do the things you have to do to make it not look ugly anymore and so that it will actually resell, you're probably going to spend 1/3 more to do it really in a luxury remodel and not cut back, not cut corners. It's that 1/3 though that is what it ends up being a great resale. That is the thing that people are going to say, I've got to have it. And you're again only talking about maybe $15, $20, $25 a month difference for that buyer when you spread that out over a 30-year note. So that is something you really want to think about. Plus you're going to get products that hold up so much better. Lifetime warranty, cabinets and finishes, grout, no stain, grouts, maybe a flooring warranty that's lifetime, cabinets, finishes that will last forever. And it's always going to be in style. Why? Because you're getting a professional job done using professional designers. And these are some things that add a big wow factor to it. And you're going to have what other people want because it was professionally designed. And these designers know that at KM Builders. If you were to go with some company like KM Builders that uses professional design, both architectural and interior designs. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some other intangibles that you get when remodeling. But right now we want to mention our friends at Truly Nolan Pest and Termite Control. What's the number there to call them?
210-651-1720. Or you can look them up at trulynolan.com.
They worked on my house in the past, and they'll do a great job for you. We'll be right back to the KM Builders Remodeling and Design Show.
You already know that my
Jeff and Becky.
Oh. I'm like, what are you talking about? Jeff and Becky.
text Chance it. Trudy Nolan. I'm trying to remember who we talked to about getting on the show recently. Oh, I talked to More Supply. I gotta get with them next week.
Okay.
See if they've got any answers. I met the general manager there. Real nice guy.
It was a girl. Who was the meeting with me.
Well, I met with her too.
Oh, okay.
But she introduced me to him. We went to a seminar on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
That breakfast thing.
How was that?
And met Dave Luberger. He was real nice. And he's going to share some marketing points with us.
Cool. How was that breakfast?
Good. He had some good things.
Oh, he was the talker?
He was the speaker,
Oh,
yeah. The talker.
It was early. 7
a.m. Yeah.
No thanks.
No thanks?
Yeah.
Weren't interested?
No. Is there a lot of people?
Yeah. It's probably about 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the National Association of Remodeling Industry is growing here in San Antonio. It's gotten a lot stronger. A lot more good educational programs too.
Good.
We need to find a way to, I should probably mention on here every week that we're looking for an experienced carpenter and experienced painters and a person who has experience in sales.
Yeah. Say it in the beginning of this section.
IRA or investment account? Then I have one word of advice. Stop. Many experts warn of a stock market crash any day now. And if it's anything like the last two crashes, you could lose 50% or more of your hard-earned savings in a Wall Street casino. Can you afford to lose half of your retirement savings?
You're looking at
I was wondering if I didn't think about it, but I don't know if Jared's gonna pick me up.
All about it in a free report. This is
He'll have to drop me off.
Oh, well, that's fine.
hope you never see. Why? Because this method continues to grow your money even when the market tumbles. It lets you take back control of your money
It
and
kind of looks like
finances.
from the side I thought it was Jack.
Access to your savings. Plus,
And this is us.
hands of any 401k or IRA. These are uncertain times, so get the information you need today to
Look at that.
guarantee your retirement
See that
security.
car
To get
stuck in
this
there?
free
Oh,
report, go to
jeez.
bankonyourself.com
Wow, that was quick.
right now. That's
Yeah.
bankonyourself.com.
Must have been sped up.
Bankonyourself.com.
Look at that guy. Truck in the ice flows. Check that out. On the water, on the streets. Welcome back to the K&M Builders Remodeling Design Show. It's our last segment, and we did want to cover a few more points, but in the meantime, we're covering, we can take another caller at 737-1200 or 1-800-383-WOAI. Again, 737-1200 is the local number. And we were talking about some of the intangibles. After the latest cost versus value remodeling survey came out with some very high points for San Antonio on, particularly in bathroom remodels. If bathroom remodels are going up, then we feel pretty sure kitchen remodels, which are always king in remodeling, is going to give you even more value also. Right now, mid-range bathroom remodels are up to 96% return on investment if you turned around and sold it right away.
That's awesome.
That's incredible. It's one of the highest we've ever seen in San Antonio. But we want you to think about other things too that should be considered whenever you're thinking about remodeling. One of the things you want to remember is that the money you're spending is not just going away. If you spend $35,000 to $50,000 on a project, or because that's the range of a lot of cars, we'll say 25 to 50 on a car. In 10 years, it's not worth very much at all. In 15, it's virtually worth nothing. And if you spend that same amount of money on a remodeling project, it's actually worth more in 5 years than it is probably the year you drive it off the lot. Just like cars, when you drive them off the lot, whenever you do your first remodeling, the first year afterward, it doesn't have the same value that you paid for. But unlike cars, when you keep them around, and you stay in that home longer, it's going to get back to the same value or even higher if you stay 10, 15 years in your home. And a lot of people want that. A lot of people really want that. So they'd like to know, though, that they're not throwing away their money. And of course you're not, because it's part of your investment.
And you get to enjoy it.
And if we're saying you're going to get to, you get to enjoy it, but you're saying you're going to get that money back, then how could that be a waste? Because it's part of how you can cash in on that investment if you ever needed to. We've got 2 callers calling in right now. We'll go ahead and take our first one. I believe that's Vicki in Pleasanton. Hi, Vicki. We're doing good. How can I help you?
Going to be building a new home, and wanted to check to see if you guys do like turnkey on a new home build.
Yes, we do. We also design those homes. Normally, that's how we get acquainted with you. We start with the design process on those homes, and then if you would like, after we finish the designs, we would be glad to give you a bid on building that home to that design.
Okay, great, good to know. And then we also have a home that we're living in currently, the new home is built, that was built in the mid-70s, and trying to decide if it'd be a good idea to, because it has like that 70s yellow in the kitchen, and see if it would be a good idea to maybe do some upgrades in the kitchen and restroom as well.
Absolutely, Vicki. I've got 5 projects that we talk about that are really the best upgrades that actually increase the resale. So we'll be talking to you about those too. So give us a call at our number at 680-5626, or go to kmbuilders.com, and we'll be glad to set up a free consultation with you. Well, thank you very much for the compliment there. I forgot to put that on the air, but you said you enjoyed the show, and thank you very much.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Bye-bye, and have a good weekend. And Matt, we'll go ahead and go to you. We have a little time left if you're still there.
Sure, I am. Real quick, I have a question about water heater placement. So I've got my water heater above my garage in the attic. Would it be better to put it in the garage? And how extensive is that of a job?
Yes, it would be, for 2 reasons. One is that it probably won't meet code. If you replace that water heater in the garage, you probably won't meet code. You have to be able to walk level out to get to that. To have it in an attic, you have to have a door that is level with a floor, so like a 2nd floor, or walk into an attic, and that's what the new codes are on that. The second reason is, for maintenance and so forth, and in not leaking in your ceilings and so forth, it's a good idea.
I admit.
And what's it going to take to do that? I mean, it's basically, some water lines, and then rerouting a drain, the pop-off drain and so forth. If it's a gas, we have to move gas also. But why don't you give me a call? We'll look at that and give you some more details. Give us a call at 680-5626. We are out of time, and thank you for your call. And just like that, next weekend we will follow up with another great show where we'll take your calls here on the KM Builders Remodeling and Design Show. And remember, you could have someone else remodel your home, but then you'd have to live in it.